I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Cavan defender Killian Clarke to talk about the All-Ireland football final. And I suppose even, Killian, just starting off, how do you reflect on the season yourself? Ulster champions, unbelievable. And obviously it came to a halt against Dublin, but on the whole, a brilliant season.
Yeah, definitely. I was probably a wee bit late into the panel. After COVID hit and that, I decided to go back in. Probably disappointing up to that point. Getting relegated in the league, and then obviously going into the Ulster Championship. We knew that if we did perform and we did the things we said we were going to do before, the majority of the games we would beat them with a good chance. And I thought we showed great battle and great heart, spirit to get through a lot of the games. We were starting slow in a lot of them and finishing very strong, which worked out well. And there's probably, if you want to look at the Donegal game, you probably had a bit of more complete performance in that game. With the two halves, we thought we started very well. Held Donegal. I think we got a black card. Killian Clarke got a black card. In the first half, and then a wee purple patch, but we really drove on after that. And then obviously the Dublin game. After the Ulster final, was probably a bit of a downer, but it was still a good learning experience all the same.
Yeah, and 2 years in a row getting to Ulster finals and obviously winning the one this year. Do you think you caught people off guard? Because especially that performance against Donegal, you looked like an absolutely brilliant side.
Yeah. We probably just changed tactics a wee bit, and try to play on the front foot and not give Donegal a platform to build on, kind of forced them long, and I think it worked well for us. We have a few monster men around the middle of the field that can catch ball, and it showed throughout all the games, I believe.
Yeah. And when you're coming up to play a team like Dublin, you've obviously had that unbelievable high against Donegal, and then you're moving on to play Dublin. How do you prepare? And if you're even in Mayo's shoes this week, what are you doing to try and prepare for the challenge?
I don't think any good team wouldn't overly focus on the other team too much. I think a lot of the outcome of a game is in the own team's hand, more so than anything else. I think Mayo are well seasoned, they're well drilled, very professional outfit. So I don't think they would prepare any less than they would normally for any game. And obviously they know the Dublin players fairly well. There might be one or two names that wouldn't be classified as household names, but I'd say the Mayo boys have the homework done on them all the same.
And when you get on the field against Dublin, because they won 5 in a row and all that kind of stuff, are they different to other top sides that you've played against, both in terms of maybe their athleticism, speed, power, tactically? Are they different to the other big teams?
There's probably from a physical point of view, I think Dublin probably looked a lot sharper than us, looked a lot stronger than us. But I'd say if we played the way we played against Dublin, against any of the top teams, we probably would have been better. Every team looks fast when they're winning, and the momentum's with them. I think everyone was talking about Cavan being the fittest team in Ulster because we were finishing games very strong and we were playing on the front foot. But that mightn't necessarily been the actual fact underneath it all. But they're very good at probably one point is setting up traps, turning people over high up the field. Especially there's probably two elements to that as well. When the defender's coming out of the ball, they're getting hands on, they're getting something on you every time, and they're cutting out the option for a kick pass, which is from their defenders playing from the front and cutting out that kick pass that isn't on to force you into attack and then to give to the forwards an opportunity. It's something that I wouldn't have encountered too much prior to that game. I would say, a lot of the other teams might step off, and there's always probably a +1 or an extra defender there to take a ball off you. But we just didn't seem to have that option against Dublin.
And when they bring the ball up to your 45, we'll say, they're very good at moving it around and then punching through little gaps. It seems when other teams play against them, those gaps don't seem to be there. Or am I being unfair? It just seems like you get up to the 45 and it's like, well, where do we go now against Dublin?
Yeah, they played a +1 against us, probably just from our kind of outputs in other games from our full forward Thomas Callaghan playing well inside. They understood that they needed to put two men on him to kind of double up for that, somebody to break and someone to sweep it up. But I wouldn't mind just kind of analysing and see where that extra man was for us then, if they had an extra man there, we should have had an extra man coming off the shoulder. But from the attacking point of view, they're very good at what to do. Their basics are very good. They don't spill too many balls. and they don't take any ridiculous shots either. Like they just try and drive by you, get it into the scoring zone, and take the opportunities as it comes.
And do you feel that athletically other teams should be able to do what Dublin are doing? I mean, Andre Quinn seems to have done a great job with Yee, for example, in the last couple of years. Like, is there any reason that man on man, are other teams athletically man for man behind Dublin?
Yeah, well, there's probably a few players that you single out in Dublin, to say like they're probably, a wee bit ahead of the rest, like your Brian Fentons and, your Kieran Kilkenny's, Conor Callaghan's, and, the speed of Jack McCaffrey, if you want to say. Like, I know he wasn't involved overly much this year, but even the defenders and that, they just seem very comfortable on the ball, very fast as well. But as I said, like, if you're making mistakes, and you're chasing back, you're gonna look slow, you're gonna look kind of unfit, I would say. If you're playing on the front foot, every ball is sticking, the ball's flowing well, you're not making any unnecessary runs, maybe to cover a bit of space, make a bit of space for someone else. But I'd say they're a wee bit ahead anyway, and it's just hard to kind of put your finger on exactly what it is.
Can you explain the impact of Andre Quinn, because he was with London Irish and helped bring through some players, I suppose, who went on to play for England, like Jonathan Joseph and I think Anthony Watson as well. What sort of a job has he done with you?
Andrew's been excellent addition to the Cavan, Cavan panel and the Cavan group as a whole. He's working with underage setup within Cavan as well, putting together programs for them. He's always on the money with us. He's always following up with you. You can see what you've done, always pushing lads on, and he has the science behind it. I've probably questioned Andre a few times on his thought process and his understanding of the concept, and I probably regretted it after about 15 minutes, because he's still going into in-depth analysis on it. So he's very good at what he does. He's very driven. He follows up with everyone regardless of what number you are on the panel, which is fantastic, I believe. And he's a real passion for it as well, which is the key driver of it. And
just to ask you about marking, like, it was Kieran Kilkenny you were on mostly last day, if I remember correctly, and
Dean Rock.
Oh, you're on Dean Rock. Okay. What's it like trying to mark him, because he does those sort of runs, and then someone seems to screen off. Let's say you were trying to defend him, some other player will sort of screen you off and allow him to take a shot from a stationary position. And I mean that in every game, he seems to somehow manage to get into a position where he's taking a shot from more or less a handy position, and you're wondering how does he do it. So what's he like to play against?
Yeah. Like, I probably felt that going into the game, he was going to kind of be coming off the shoulder of lads playing that loop, their half back line midfielder driving through the middle and him coming to loop, and you had to kind of make a decision either to go with midfielder or stay with him, which probably didn't work out the best. But I found him he was showing for a lot of ball which you didn't expect. I felt that he probably would have made space for lads and tried to loop it then, but he actually showed for a lot of ball, which was surprising. He was receiving ball out around the 45 on the wings, and then he had runners coming to lay it off. And one side of the Dublin game which I was very intrigued by was their ability to defend as forwards. There's no lost cause. There's no one, when they're defending, everyone's involved. Compared to other teams, you might see like a forward going, oh yeah, no, I'm going to hold the full forward line here, or 2 or 3 forwards might go, or we need some sort of outlet up here to receive a kick pass if we get one in early. But like, if let's say I was marking Dean Rock and I was in the full back line and there was one of our players carrying the ball at the half back line, you can see the Dublin players trying to slow him up for Dean Rock to come in from behind and get that tackle on and set that trap, that kind of way.
Yeah.
The work rate, the work rate was absolutely outstanding, and it's something we need to kind of aspire to get to.
After Westmeath played them in the Leinster Championship break, Canellan was telling me about their interchangeability, that like Conor Callaghan could find himself at wing back and could be comfortable there, just in a defensive position. And is the interchangeability of their players the biggest issue as well, or is it part of it?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a massive deal to us, as in with Cavan, because we have a fairly versatile unit of players as well. If you have kind of a cornerback, let's say man marking Kieran Kilkenny or Conor Callaghan, and you have the 2 boys going out the field, you mightn't have lads that are that comfortable when they get out to that wing forward position, if you want to say, and they might be fit to do damage from that end. But if you have good flexibility and good versatility within the team, I don't think it's that big of an issue. And every team obviously interchanges as much as possible. But I wouldn't say it was the main kind of driver of it anyway.
Yeah, and like, what do you think Aidan O'Shea is going to come up against this weekend? Because Thomas Gallagher was obviously in full forward an awful lot, and even Philly McMahon came in the second half to specifically go on him, I would imagine, because they've had that sort of battle before. What do you think Aidan is going to be up against?
Yeah, no, like, it's depending on what game Aidan plays, like, he can play at 11, he can play at 14, from watching the game last week. I don't know how many high balls they kicked into Aidan either. I don't think it was an element, it wasn't the reason to protect Tipperary from high ball into Aidan O'Shea, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was the turnovers and the Killian O'Connor show, probably more so than anything else. But I don't think that will be a massive element of it. I think he has a good ability to turn players over. He's big, he's strong, he's mobile. And he can catch that ball over his head if need be. But I wouldn't say it wouldn't be that pivotal, I would say, all the same.
Yeah. So if you were to give Mayo any advice going into this weekend, actually, do you give them a chance, first of all?
Yeah, no, definitely give them a chance. They look very good against Tipperary, and I think they've come up against Dublin a good bit over the last few years, as well documented, I believe. So, I'd definitely give them a chance. I'd say if Dublin were kind of probably a mistake that we made anyway was going short. They were giving us an opportunity to go short a lot, which then gave them an opportunity to turn us over high up the field. I think if Mayo have that ability to go long to some of the bigger men, I think they should take it. And if they can get a good proper squeeze on Cluxton to kick out, which is a tough ask all the same, I think they should really pressurise him into going long. And then trust the lads in that back line, those midfielders, those kind of 6 foot plus men, to get up and break that ball and commit bodies to the breaking ball then,
Would you, if you were Mayo this weekend, like any free you get, would you be planning to bring everyone forward to press the kick out? Like, is it risky?
Yeah, I think you need, I think the ability Dublin have to score from a short kick out, which most teams mightn't have, like if a team goes short, they mightn't have the conversion rates that Dublin have, if you understand me. Yeah. But Dublin just seem to have the ability to get that scoring chance and get that scoring opportunity. I'm not saying they take every chance to get, but they still create that opportunity for themselves. So, if I was Mayo, I'd press them as, I'd do it in kind of patches, I'd kind of play the game as you see it more so. If they were after coughing up 3 or 4 short kick outs and Dublin's after scoring 3 or 4 points, yeah, 100% you'd be looking to go with maybe 4 in the full forward line, or whatever structure they like to go with, and then commit bodies to that long kick out, because I don't think Cluxton has the range that he previously had, over the last few years. I think he might cap there at maybe 50, 55 metres, like, the Rory Beggins or the Raymond Galligans, or, the Niall Morgans probably 60, 70 yards on a good day, but his accuracy is still there, so it's a tough one to kind of work out what to do with.
Yeah, and so in terms of your highlights of the season, winning the Ulster title and that final whistle, I'm sure was unbelievable. But can you kind of paint the picture of Gallagher knocking over that winning free against Monaghan?
Yeah, it was a massive one, and Hollywood, he'd like me talking about it now, so I'll definitely give him a few minutes anyway. But he, he's a funny old character, because he's a free taker with his club. He plays full forward in his club. Terry Hyland converted him into a goalkeeper, and there's no better man for doing a bit of practicing with a few frees, from any angle. If you want left or right, he'll have a goal. But our kind of game was in the Metron pod. We kicked a few monster scores in that second half with the wind, so I would have given him his opportunity there, because he has that range in his locker. And when he did kick it in the final whistle to let go, I was never as delighted for a man in life, for that for him to be given that opportunity and for him to take it too.
Yeah, how much do you trace the resilience he showed in that game, and maybe even the down game, and even like you talked about the black card period against Donegal, when they put up a nice few scores, and I'd say half of their scores in the game came through that period. But how much do you trace all this resilience to Mickey Graham coming in?
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely taught us, that we needed to be kind of a wee bit more mentally tough. I think he gave us that belief that we have the skill level. We just needed to execute a game plan a wee bit better and a wee bit more tactical about the whole thing. And he's loads of confidence in his players. He backs players to the tilt, and it kind of shows through for the team then on the day. A lot of the lads would go to the well for Mickey, no problem at all day, every day. And that just shows with the performance we've had, I believe.
And was Croke Park a big factor playing against Dublin, because of even the perception of how big it feels when you're out on the field, that they can exploit that a bit more?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think personally, I don't think we played overly well. I think if we made the mistakes we made against them, against other teams, we would have been better anyway. Probably I actually ended up slipping a few times in the first half, which was probably uncharacteristic of myself. But yeah, it's probably a valid question, but I'm not going to make any excuses. I'll say like the better team won on the day, and the more physical and powerful team won. So there probably could be a good argument there, but it's probably not for me to make the call and all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how much are you looking forward to next year? You're going to be in Division 3. I don't know how much of an impediment that's going to be, but it probably does feel like you're building something.
Yeah, definitely. And we've a fairly young panel as well. We've kind of a few young, exciting players coming in. From cornerbacks to corner forwards. With James Smith's 21, 22, Thomas Galligan in 23, whatever he is at the minute. There's loads of youth there, and it's great to see that these lads. You'd hope that they wouldn't just rest in the laurels saying, "No, this will be this for the next 5 or 6 years." We're home and house. It's probably an element of where I went wrong when it was coming through, of thinking, it was after winning 3 Ulster Championship, everyone goes, "This is going to be great crack every year here." We're going to have Ulster men with the wall full by the end of my career. And it didn't work out that way. And that's something that hopefully we can instill in the lads, and then get them to drive on. But I think the passion is there, the commitment's there. There's no issue from that point of view. It's just tactically understanding what we need to do and executing it well.
And actually, even when you were going to step away for the year, had you got to a stage now where you were almost thinking chances of winning an Ulster title aren't really going to happen, and then you're stepping away from a year, so who knows if you'll ever be back or if you'll hit the ground running again?
Yeah, it probably wasn't my decision coming back in. I obviously wanted to win an Ulster Championship, but I just wanted to get back involved, and I wanted to put, I probably had different plans, obviously, like everyone else this year. But playing the club championship and that, and I kind of realised that I had to want to train at that higher level, because it's difficult to there's no point in doing something if you're not going to do it fully. I would be a good believer in and if you're going to put 50-60% in, why not just put the 100% in? If you're going to miss those Friday nights or Sunday mornings, you might as well do it at the top end, the cream of the crop, more so than doing it at the lower ends.
Yeah, and then finally, just one last question: who do you think will win on Saturday even?
Yeah, sure. It's hard to look past Dublin. I think it'll be a tight game all the same. If Mayo can get the goals they got against Tipperary, I think the outlook of the game will be a lot more different. It might force Dublin into going for the game and open up a few spaces from behind. But you'd have to say Dublin all the same. Maybe a point or two.
Brilliant stuff, Killian. Really appreciate you joining me.
No problem at all, Shane. 100%.